Alright, so let's begin the Prismacolor demo. The first circle I have the video on is quote-unquote what to avoid. So this is something I commonly see when you guys are starting this project, and I want you to try to avoid, where you're tempted with the colored pencils to create a Zendala circle, kind of like what you see here, and you just fill it with color. You kind of fill it in as if it's their individual puzzle pieces, and you don't necessarily focus on color blending. What you'll do here is not teach yourself anything about Prismacolor. You're playing with colors, which is great, but you're not really pushing yourself to blend, which is really the key with Prismacolor and learning how to really make the most of it. Remember that Prismacolor are pencils with a waxy buildup. So they have waxes and fats that are contained within them, and they help blend really well. So first things first, have your colorless blender in front of you. The colorless blender will make all the difference when you're pressing your values into the wood. So I don't want you to do this, even though you guys have to do 3 circles, I want you to focus on color harmony and unique harmonies in your pieces. So right here, I'll go ahead and start. Work with unique colors. So if you want, color harmonies are colors that are pretty close to each other in the color wheel. So blues, reds, purples, they're all right next to each other on the color wheel. So they blend really well. They're harmonious to our eyes because they're right next to each other on the color spectrum. So we'll go ahead and start with your lighter colors first. You always want to work light to dark so that you can cover up areas and build up layers. If you go too dark too quickly, what you'll end up doing is not being able to cover up what you've done. So it's just like with drawing. You're going to start by pressing hard in an area that you want it to have a lot of color and slowly start to taper off. So I'm making that shoo, shoo, shoo kind of motion with my pencil. I'm releasing pressure as I get further down here because I'm going to have it transition to different blues. I don't need this teal over here. You'll see why. You'll find that Prismacolors are a lot like if a colored pencil, a crayon, and a pastel all were blended together. That's kind of how they work. And it's even better on wood. They blend just beautifully. I think the wood texture gripped the pencil really well, and that's why it works so well. So I have my light blue here. Again, it's just like with the drawing project. You press really hard in an area where you want it to have a lot of that color, and you release pressure in an area where you don't need a lot of that color. And then let's come in with a medium gray or medium blue, and this is where you want to try to find the dullest part of your pencil, just real light, kind of back and forth motion. Take your time. Prismacolor is a lesson in patience. I'm also working on getting my pencil nice and dull. So that it doesn't show a lot of those pencil strokes. And then I can press in a little bit harder. And again, I'm tapering off again. It's kind of like with scratch art. Lift up every single time to get that value. So I'm not going like this. I'm every time kind of lifting my pencil up. If you get in the habit of drawing like that, it becomes natural and you don't even have to think about it after a while. Next, I'll come in with a dark blue. Get my edge perfect. Prismacolor is going to be a lot of back and forth. So here I've lost a little bit of that medium blue, so I'm going to bring it back. Kind of layer it right on top. Prismacolor is all about layering. But I can still see a little bit of the wood green texture. So what I'm going to do is take my colorless blender And that's basically just a pencil with all of the fat and wax. It won't change the colors, it'll just simply press them into the board. So that you have awesome texture or awesome values that are nice and deep and rich. And so you can see the difference between this and this. This is what I want you to avoid, where you're just kind of coloring in areas and not really focusing on a transition with multiple colors. Also notice that my Zendala circle doesn't have a lot of patterns and details. If you put too many in there, you're going to overwhelm yourself and never finish. Okay, so let's try again. From this point forward, you can just kind of watch my process. So I'll start with, again, a darker color, darker magenta, I'm getting my pencil nice and dull. I'm just kind of having it taper off. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little more closely. Nice and soft. So you can kind of see how flat the pencil is right here. Do you see how that's nice? And so I don't have to worry about having pencil strokes, it's just nice and blocky. The really light colors like yellow are going to be really a lot more challenging to use because they're going to show all your pencil strokes. So you might want to wait to use yellow for a little bit. You get that beautiful pinky orange. Again, Prisma is all about these layers. Use a little bit of orange just to kind of drive it home. And then maybe just a little bit of lime green. I didn't do too much, just do a different green. This one I don't think I need the colorless blender. It pretty much did its thing. Notice how I'm kind of working almost in circular motion to kind of fit it in. Whatever works for you. I'm going to try to get it nice and dull. You see this is where I started. You can see the little pencil strokes in here. It's nice and dull again. And again, now I'll come in with my medium blue, real soft, and back and forth motions. Notice how it's nice and loose right here where I'm going to transition into the darker blues. It's not going to blend like pastel where it just automatically transitions into the blue. So you have to do the light to dark all the time, just by hand, just like if it were a regular drawing pencil. It's not like charcoal or even paint where you can spread it and pull it. It's tempting to think that it'll do that, and this is why we're kind of practicing in these circles. Also, if you do get your own Prismacolor set, what's nice, if you buy the colorless blender, those usually don't come in the set, you'll have to buy them separately, is it'll save the longevity of your pencils because you won't have to put as much pencil. You can do a lot of the blending with the colorless blender. And so if I really wanted to make it super dark here, I could just keep adding more pencil, but that'll waste the blue. So to save the blue, I'll use the colorless blender, and I'll show you up close what that looks like. So you can see it makes it nice and rich and deep. You can always add on pencil after you've added the colorless blender. So don't think that once you put it on you can't do any more. Just be mindful if you put too much Prisma on your board, it'll get so rich with the fats and waxes that you won't be able to add anything. You guys will all probably have an experience like that at some point with your piece where you put too much on, and that's okay. That's why we're practicing. So you can see it makes it nice and dark. So you save your pencil. You'll find Prismacolor is definitely tougher on your hands than most mediums. You have to use a lot of your thumb. So you may find that your fingers are a little bit sore at the end of the project. That's the kind of only con to Prisma, I think, for a lot of artists, is that it's just it's tough on your hands because you do have to put so much pressure. Kind of like ceramics. Ceramics can be really hard on your joints. Okay, this will conduct the first part of the demo. The second part, we're going to talk about combining unique harmonies as well.